right, good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. Got another tough matchup here. Looking forward to getting back home in our last couple of games. And it's just the dash of the season for Team 131. It's coming to an end quickly. And just it's a group of guys. I know I've bragged on them several times now. Just what a fun group these guys are to coach and be around every day. And I know they're looking forward to getting back here in front of our fans. Our fans have been absolutely fantastic all year long and don't expect anything less than that this week. Got a really good Missouri team that's coming in that has played really well this year. They're number one in the SEC in defense. Maud Hardy leads the nation in rushing. He has almost 1,000 yards after contact, which is I've never heard of such a stat. I don't know where Mike pulled that one out of, but man, that's a good one. Kevin Coleman is an excellent receiver that's also wearing number 3. They had a great receiver that wore number 3 last year. You all probably remember him, and they've replaced him with a guy that's number 4 in the SEC in receptions, and Josiah Trotter is their middle linebacker, who I coached his brother at Clemson. His dad's a Hall of Fame linebacker, played for the Philadelphia Eagles, is a dude at middle linebacker. Their defense is playing really, really well, has all year, all 3 levels. They're just excellent, well coached, strong, athletic, long. They can rush the passer. And so going to be a great challenge for us, but really, again, looking forward to it. That'll open up questions.
Colton, you want to get us started? Yeah, Brent. You mentioned Ahmad Hardy and just the unique challenge he brings. Is there anything you guys are doing this week to specifically zero in on him, and what can you do, if anything, to slow him down?
Yeah, I mean, you got to win up front. I mean, if you're going to, I think that's where it starts. They're doing a great job of knocking people off the line of scrimmage, both the inside and outside run game, all their gap schemes. And they do a nice job with all their presentations, but that's where it all kind of starts. And then you got to have great discipline in your run fits. And they got an excellent play action, and passing game off of that. They're not, naive. So again, if you got a great rush defense, then they're going to want to stay on schedule. So the quick throwing game, the screens, the boots, the shot plays, the trick plays, the flea flickers and reverses and all those kind of things to test your discipline. Very option principle, concepts, except they throw the ball, better than most option teams. So just all the things that, that I just said it's going to take, the physicality, the discipline, reading our keys correctly for run and pass, things of that nature.
Amazing. Brent, last 2 weeks you've had defensive touchdowns that have been big plays in the game. I'm wondering what goes into being able to generate those, and how important are those? Is it more important because of the momentum or the points?
Well, I think you have to have, the people that you're lining up against have to be willing to, put the ball out there to give yourself a chance. And our guys were well-versed on what to expect. I think that's part of it. And it doesn't always go your way just because they're well-versed in it too. And but I thought we really worked together well with both our front pressures and some of our coverages. Our guys were relentless and obsessed about creating the turnovers. And really, I think as we began the week talking about what is the formula for winning, I think that the mindset was there's no possible way. There is no path without winning the turnover margin. And so our guys bought into that. They recognized the physicality and the focus that takes. And I feel like, between the offense taking care of the ball and what you saw both in the kicking game and on defense, again, just a real intentionality about going after the football. So the turnovers were a big part of it, something that, again, our guys were aggressive and forced through big hits or, again, timely pressures and coverages that tied in with it, to put them in a tough position.
Yeah, Brent, last couple of weeks you guys have been able to lean on your defense and your special teams to win these games. The offense has come up in spots when you needed them to score. How do you balance, though, leaning into that, your defense playing great, your special teams playing great, but also still wanting to be aggressive on offense?
Yeah, I mean, that's just what you said. You want to stay aggressive. You got to play smart football. That, again, you always are, working together. What does the winning formula this week look like? And some weeks it's similar. Some weeks it's not, based on matchups and things of that nature. And then the flow of the game dictates it too. Are we winning the line of scrimmage? Are we getting off the field? Are we able to run the ball on offense and create explosive plays? Are we able to do those things? And then the kicking game, certainly, with the ability that we have, with Sandell, that's a big deal. It certainly affected us a year ago with not being able to do a whole lot on offense, and then we were very inconsistent at kicking field goals a year ago, and so now you're kind of forced in those past the logo, around the 40 areas that all the analytics are saying it's a go at 10, 4th and 10, and knowing damn well you haven't seen them get much on 1st and 10, let alone 4th and 10, but you can't make a field goal. So now what do you do? And so we're not in the same position, this year. And again, we've been playing good defense. So those are all just, you got to, be comfortable in the flow of the game based on your strengths and how the game, is going. So we want to be explosive. We want to be better in every area of our football team, let alone, again, the things that we need to do, offensively, to put people in a really tough position and putting pressure on people with the ability to, run the ball and throw it over the top. I think that's the vision for what we want to be, and we got to be better in all of those areas. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, with Missouri, you've had some portal defection history recently. Some recruiting battles, Eli's personality. SEC makes them a permanent or an annual rival. Do you see, is Missouri sort of filling the void of becoming one of your rivals? You used to have 3 natural ones, you're down to 1. Is Missouri going to take that one of those slots?
Well, I mean, they're going to be on our schedule every year for the foreseeable future. So, and all those other things, to me, they mean nothing to me. They probably mean something to somebody else, but I don't get into all that. You don't hear me spouting back at whatever's out there. It doesn't. I just laugh at it. It's okay. You know what I mean? I don't mind it whether it's good or bad. It's at me or it's at us or it's at someone else. That's just not my style. I try to focus on what it takes to win and the things that matter the most and things that I can control. So if everybody wants to make that a rival, fine. If they don't, I'm fine too. So that may not endear myself to the story or to anybody else, but they're on the schedule. Laird Veach, their athletic director, was a linebacker mate of mine, in college, and got great respect for Eli and who he is as a coach. Certainly know him way before Missouri, and have faced off against him. He does a great job, and but I love the passion and the energy of people kind of drawing the line in the sand. That's cool. I don't mind that, and but my focus is on a really good football team that's getting ready to come in here this weekend, and they've done a really good job building a roster with good players, and they've done a good job as a staff putting them in position to be successful. So that's kind of where my focus is.
Yeah, Brent, you guys have been able to run the ball more effectively this last month, and just with the importance of being able to run well heading into this home stretch, and Xavier getting a little bit banged up against Alabama, and Torrey dealing with some stuff a little bit earlier than that. How are you feeling about the depth of that running back room heading into this final stretch?
Well, it's going to be tested without question. So hopeful that we can stay healthy, and we're going to probably have to spread it out a little more, to kind of manage the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Brent, you talked about the levels of defense complementing each other to force some of those turnovers. We saw that with Kip Lewis the other day with that initial one. I want to ask you about him and just the energy that he brings to the defense and the way that he's come along and what that does for that defense as a whole.
Yeah, he's been outstanding, and it's infectious. You know, his passion, his energy, his toughness, his love to compete. When stuff isn't going well, that's when he has been at his best. People notice when he's celebrating a great play, but probably his best quality is who he has been when things are tight. And you can't, again, put a value on that, but he's won a lot of matchups. Certainly he won his share a couple of nights ago. We really felt that he would have an opportunity to, in some of our interior pressures with the matchups with the running backs, thought that we would have a chance to create a little bit of chaos in the backfield, and that certainly held true. But he's had an outstanding year, and our team does, really feed off of or energized by, both his playmaking and just his passion. He's not always like that at practice. It's not like he's a zero by any stretch, and but I'm really proud of the player that he has become, the leader that he's become this year.
You talk about the element of stepping forward in those tight moments. Is that something that's just sort of innate, or is that something you've seen sort of grow in him?
I think that's who he's been. Coming out of high school, he's a 2-time 4A Defensive Player of the Year at Carthage, and I think a 3-time state championship player. I do think there's an instinctive, innate ability to be that. Somebody that they're at their best, the bigger the moment. I do think that. I feel that Coach Dreiling has done a good job of helping with his temperament as well. And then he's just grown and matured into, those are things that he's become through going through the fire, and maturing as a football player. Mm-hmm.
Second row, Joe Sano. Brent, another batch of rankings is revealed tonight. Committee's talked about strength of schedule being more of a priority this season. Just generally, how do you think the committee should assess maybe a 2-loss team with better wins like yourself versus maybe a 1-loss team that doesn't have as good of wins?
I really can't answer that because everybody's going to have their opinion, and it's just for me it's a waste of time, and it'll be whatever it is without my opinion. And so again, my focus is just what's in front of us right now. And that's a space that just gets messy when you start, putting things out there. And really, again, I don't even know what their metrics are. I don't even know what our strength of schedule is. I know it's been hard. It's been tough. But there's plenty of teams that have had a challenging schedule. And so if they look at that and they're impressed and they want to quantify it as they compare things, great. I don't think there's a rhyme or reason. I'm sure there's a fan base or two that is up in arms after each week's rankings, and it's an emotional space that I just kind of stay out of. Mm-hmm.
Third row, Cliff.
Yeah, so, Coach, from the outside looking in, it looks like you guys are really, really good at making adjustments defensively at halftime, coming out and really being dominant in the second half. And I wonder, I know there's a lot that goes into your halftime, right? You're meeting with your coaches, you're meeting with your players, you got players talking to each other. What is it about your process at halftime that's working and that's where you're able to convey things to those guys and have them execute?
Yeah, I think first, the credit goes to the players, just their determination, their toughness, their ability to adapt and adjust. Their strain, their physicality, their precision. I think that's where it starts. And then, two, I think having a system that has answers, for what you're getting, and a coaching staff that has great awareness, and we all kind of get back to the same answers. We're not in 5 or 6 different places. I think we've got a really good staff that works well together cohesively in a very short amount of time. Can come up with a few small minor adjustments, but at the end of the day, the players are the ones that are out there making whatever scheme you have, really good. And other than, again, they had that first drive where I think they had a good run. They popped a run that we just misfit it. That extended the drive and kept us from getting them in 3rd and long. The rest of the half, again, our guys were just, man, they were amazing. I think they got maybe a first down, maybe 2 first downs actually on that last drive. But some of that is, and not that you ever want to get any first downs. I'd rather have gotten off the field on 4th and 1. But some of that, the clock was their enemy, and keeping the ball in front of us, was working, really well too, and making them burn the clock. But really, I thought the second half, was a really, dominant finish, for the defense.
Nationally, some people are talking about they wonder if your team will get complacent. Your guys were asked about this yesterday, and I'm thinking, man, all these one-possession games, why would they get complacent? But is that something you have to guard against?
I don't think our guys will lose respect for winning. Complacency is the opposite of that, and that's not who our guys have been all year. So they have clear vision, for what is at stake and what is required, and the things that have helped us. You win on Saturday, but you really won all week. It takes a whole week to beat somebody, and however you have to do it. Again, football's not a beauty contest, and certainly this league's not. And so, what's it going to take? So our guys have been very committed to a process and committed to doing things a certain way, practicing a certain way, preparing a certain way, and I wouldn't think this week will be any different.
Hey, Brent, wanted to ask you about Jaden Hardy, a guy that we've seen play a lot on special teams, make some plays, but we've seen him kind of earn a role in that secondary. Just what has stood out to you about him and maybe the way he's grown from year 1 to year 2?
Yeah, really a smart guy. Super high-level football intelligence. Very competitive. I think he's instinctively a really good natural football player. He obviously bought into the message, and not that it was just the last week thing. Just happened to get the ball out. That play was a huge play where he pops the ball out. But he's through both success and some failure has really become a reliable role player for us this year, with a great future sitting right in front of him. And but a guy that took things personally, and Coach Hall could better testify to some of that. But really, again, I think he played around 30 plays. Half of them were on special teams, and just was a guy we talked about in front of the team, on Monday, that in this role, this opportunity to impact and influence, the game, only happens when somebody buys into that role and they're prepared to come off the bench or to be a special teams player and take it like, I'm a starter. I'm a starting football player in the SEC, one of the best programs in the country. And so the detail, the precision, the preparedness is very real, and proud of him. And huge play, one of the, again, top 4 or 5 plays in that game, and that impacted the outcome.
Yeah, Brent, you would stand up here and say those turnovers will be right on time, but when they weren't, was it a challenge, or how big of a challenge was it to keep them disciplined so that they didn't go, do something out of character to try to force the action?
Yeah, that's, it's a good question and kind of a perception, because that's very real. And maybe, again, what does that look like? Well, that now you're getting out the confines of how you play the game, and maybe you're ripping at the ball more than you are actually tackling and putting your pads on people and running through people. And now you're not tackling and you're not forcing turnovers. And so I think our guys have had a balance there. We stress it every day because we do a turnover circuit every day. and you're always, even through that, you're always looking at other resources to put in front of the players. Now, we watch a lot of NFL tape. Maybe it's 2 minutes a day, but you start the meeting with, these players that the players really look up to. Look at these guys, ripping at the ball and popping the ball out, and showing the offense the same thing. Watch what the defense is emphasizing, and look at it's the guy that you don't see, and things of that nature, and how the magnitude of those plays, to impact a game. So just continue to keep feeding, that part of the mindset and the process of how you play really good defense. And then again, here late, we've been a little more fortunate to force those turnovers, and they're huge in these games that are decided by one score. And when you're not getting them, it puts a little more stress on every other part of your team. And you don't have the short field goal for the kicker, or the short field for the offense to go operate and start to get in a rhythm and create a lot of pressure on people. So when you're not getting them, it does you inherently, every other part of your team, is a quote-unquote a victim to that as well. Just like if a year ago, we were turning the ball over a lot. And my challenge to the offense then was, it's not just you get a run off the field. Every part of our team feels that. It bleeds over into every part when you're not taking. I think we lost a turnover battle maybe 4-1 at Missouri last year. We scored a defensive touchdown. They scored a defensive touchdown to ultimately win the game right there at the end once we had it tied up. So nothing impacts a game like turnovers. It always has been that way. It's not a new thing. At every level of football, you win the margin, you have a much better chance to win the game. You score defensive touchdowns, you have a much better chance to win the game. So, hopefully we'll be able to continue that trend, that it would be huge, to be able to, take the ball away from a ball control type of offense. Those turnovers, always facing option teams in the past, those turnovers, in a game where possessions are already limited, now all of a sudden you take away a possession or two from somebody, it can be catastrophic.
Brent, I'm curious, what was your conversation with Joe Castiglione like after the Alabama win?
Well, we talked about just the vision that Joe Castiglione and Joe Harris had, just going to the SEC, making that decision, being on the stage in games like, the magnitude of what last week was in several games this year, and, things kind of falling into place. And so that's some of that kind of stuff. But it's been great. I have great appreciation and respect for Joe and the support and his steadiness through just navigating a lot of choppy waters over the last several years with the challenges, the landscape of college football, and then moving to, a new league and everything that goes into that. There's a lot of layers to it. And he's had incredible, strength and leadership through all of that.
Talk about Jaden Hardy and some of these role guys on defense. Just want to ask, what about your defense allows it to be as effective when these backups and role guys are in it?
It says a lot about their commitment, their process, their ability to handle the depth of, what we do from a mental standpoint, a scheme standpoint. We've recruited some really good players, and but they got to be coached, and they have to put in, more than what's required to be able to play fast and aggressive and things of that nature. So you see a lot of that, just look at the guys that were freshmen a year ago, whether it's Boganowski or it was Powers, it was Hardy, it was David Stone. It's just to name a couple of guys, and where they're at now, or even Day Jordan. How about that forklift on the running back, 245-pound running back, and winning that matchup, and a huge play in the game. But those are guys all true freshmen a year ago, and everything is, they can get overwhelmed, and there's the whole paralysis by analysis. And just several months later, a short time later, man, they're in different hemispheres, their ability to play and execute, their confidence, the game slowing down, and they're just kind of getting started. You know, a year from now, they'll be, you know, in another place, just like Robert Spears took him a couple of years where he is now, or Peyton Bowen. And Peyton came in as a freshman and played really pretty well as a true freshman. Some injuries he fought through and things of that nature. Robert, you know, has just kind of steadily, you know, developed into one of the best players on our defense, one of the best in America, a great leader. But I know I've talked about him several times, what he was like as a freshman, just not ready mentally, and X's and O, all of those things, you know, how to compete. But really proud of it. There's a lot of work that goes on. You all see him be successful on Saturday, and there's a lot that goes into the commitment, the sacrifice, the consistency, the details. There's a lot of layers to it. And I think that's probably what you're alluding to, and a lot goes into it. And the game's kind of loving him back, you know, through a loyalty to a process.
Coach, we saw a little bit of it on Saturday, but what did the Bowen brothers bring to this program?
Well, I think they have an influence of the brotherhood, naturally speaking, but they're both great teammates. The players pull for them, and it's really unique that two brothers get to be out on the field and play, you know, tremendous roles. You know, they're both excellent players, elite at what they do, and so that's a lot of fun for everybody to celebrate their successes and things like that, and to watch them. Man, what a gift that is, you know, for brothers to be able to do that on this journey. You know, life's so short, and for them to be able to go from high school to college and both like be up here in the rare air as players is a really cool thing to kind of witness and be a part of. Myron, what you got?
Playoff, 2 wins away. Do you want your guys even talking about that? Do you talk to them about it? They ask you about it?
I mean, I would like. We don't have a no playoff policy in our building. We just don't. That's not something that leads the topic of conversation. My job is to not be naive, to try to, you know, protect an environment and try to help them think the right way, and to be committed to a process that is void in distractions and things that can work against you. And but I'm like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and know that, you know, you're not going to be able to completely and totally. You guys lead off a lot of conversations and try to take them down that road. And but again, you know, we've got a lot of work to do, and that is so far away, in my opinion. And maybe in a few more weeks you're talking about that, but we've got a lot of work to do, and you know, a lot of challenges that are sitting in front of us. So that's really kind of the conversation. There takes a certain level of maturity to look at it the right way, and you know, we have enough really good older mature leaders that kind of set the tone every day for that. And so I'm thankful for those guys that have been able to do that. You know, I just look at a body of work. You know, maybe it just kind of one day at a time. You beat them on Saturday, you beat them on Monday, and they got to have a great day Monday to have a great Saturday. So we had great focus and energy in the detail. You're learning a complete and total new DNA that doesn't look anything like Alabama. And so, you know, where are we mentally when it comes to that? And I thought we were in an excellent, you know, space. So you go home, you know, 11 o'clock last night, and you feel pretty dang good about the focus and the mindset of the team where we're at. All right. You all have a great day. You got it.